Hello, everyone. I am Brady Bridges, and I'm the broker and owner of Reside Real Estate here in Fort Worth, Texas. I want to welcome you to another episode of Real Talk with Reside Real Estate. We are a top producing team here in Fort Worth, Texas, and we want this podcast to be a resource for anyone looking to learn more about real estate and the great city of Fort Worth, Texas.
Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Reside Real Estate. Today I'm joined by Ladarius Deary with Only Way Air Conditioning. Ladarius, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Brady.
So, kind of previously on my podcast, I've been focusing on stuff that's kind of directly related to real estate industry. This definitely applies, but I also have made a shift. We took a break a little bit over the summer because people were out of town. It was busy. And I want to both highlight local businesses. So I think one of the cool things about Fort Worth that I heard over and over and over from the people that came on is Fort Worth's just it's a big, small town. Like, people know each other. People like to support local. So that's why I want to bring you in. So kind of tell us a little bit about your business and what you do.
I own a residential heating and air conditioning business out of Fort Worth. We also do a little bit of a light commercial, and we also offer maintenance agreements. And we don't just service Fort Worth. We service all of Dallas, Fort Worth, and surrounding areas. So I mean, hell, I've got a virtual office out of Abilene. So Yesterday I was in Abilene. That's why it took me so long to get back here.
Sounds like you're kind of like a real estate. You'll go wherever you're needed, right?
Yeah.
Wherever the business is.
But yeah, man, that's us. I've been in business for going on 4 years now. And it's been good. Since I came in, out the gate, business has just gone up. And yeah, man,
I have to think HVAC, plumbing, people in Texas, people are always going to need that. So pretty good job security for you.
Yeah, and that's actually what I got, how I got into it or why I got into it. And I'll kind of give you like my background a little
please.
bit, So when I was younger, my dad raised me. My mom was in the Army, so she was all over the country. And I was a bad kid, I wanted to do what I wanted to do pretty much. I was in the streets. So I would say in, ninth grade, I dropped out of school. And so pretty much around that time, when that time happened, my dad's like, well, hey, if you're not going to go to school, you're going to get a job. So me and him bumped heads a lot, not due to things he was doing, just, me being an idiot, being young, dumb. So I left home, moved in with my grandparents, got a job. At one point in time, I had 3 jobs. I was working at a Luby's and 2 Domino's full time. So once I finally turned 18, I moved to Midland, Odessa. So I moved down there. I was down there for 3 years, man, working in the oil and gas industry, working a ton of hours. Thinking I was making good money, which I probably was making decent money for my age at the time. So after about 3 years, I got laid off. I was never lazy. So as soon as I got laid off, I went and got another job, probably inside of 2 weeks. Got laid off again. So got laid off twice in my life, and in the same.
Both in the oil field.
Both in the oil field. So once that happened, I was like, I'm not gonna work for anybody anymore. I'm gonna start my own business. I was like, I'm still young. I moved back home. I moved in with my grandparents, and at the time, like I said, I knew I wanted my own business, but I didn't know what. So I just kind of picked up a book. Also when I moved back in with my grandparents, I went and got my GED, because I said I'm going to go to trade school for something. So I just weighed out, electrical, plumbing, real estate, all those things, and I just kind of was like, which one can I start my business the quickest? Which one can I get to where I want to go the quickest? And which one is always going to be around? While I weighed out electrical, that's probably always going to be here. Plumbing, that's always going to be here. Housing, too. So I was like, well, I don't want to play in people's shit, doing plumbing. Electrical, hell, you got to work for somebody for 10 years. And then, real estate, I just, at the time, if I could go back, I may have got into real estate, But anyways, I was like, heating and air conditioning is never going to go away. People are always going to need this, and a robot can't replace it, because whether it's your house is too hot or too cold, well, you got to think about your food. If you've got that ham for Thanksgiving or whatever it may be, refrigeration is air conditioning. So that's why I picked up this trade. And then in the state of Texas, back when I was going for it, you just had to work for somebody for 3 years. And if you went to a school or a trade school or college, whatever it may be, You could go test with the state of Austin and get your contractor's license. You know, so that's what I did, man. So far, aside from my wife and having my beautiful baby girl, that's the best decision I ever made, man.
It's funny, the past that kind of leads you to where you're at, right? My family background is oil and gas, and when I graduated, I went to TCU. When I graduated from TCU, I was a hydraulic fracturing engineer. So I kind of went through the same thing. I had my license, but great job, then laid off. Well, like oil field is great until it's not good, and then you get laid off. And so I kind of made a shift. I did some energy hedging, and then ended up actually going back into real estate. But I think that's great. I've got a lot of friends that are in the commercial side of things on HVAC. They do like a lot of the sales for the big like stadiums and stuff like that. So that's what they say is the HVAC ain't going away.
And never, and especially with all the people coming here from California and wherever it may be.
Construction, everything else. So I thought, one, it'd be good for people to know who you are so they can reach out to you. And also just kind of go through some of the questions about, I think, mechanical systems, a lot of times, people probably don't do a very good job of maintaining them, I would think.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
What are some of the key signs you see homeowners should look out for with their HVAC system in terms of what they need to do in maintenance or repair? Where are you seeing a lot of people not taking care of these items? Where do homeowners go wrong?
And there's only so much the homeowner can really do, you know, honestly. But the number one thing I see is homeowners do not change their filters. You know, you'd be surprised how far your system can last and how much more efficient it'll work if you just change the filter. You know, I walk into homes all the time where the homeowner tells me, oh, we lived here 2-3 years. We didn't even know where the filter was located at. Or, oh, it's been a year since we changed the filter and the filter's only rated, you know, for 3 months. You're supposed to change it every 2-3 months. You know, so that's one, guys. Just change your filters. That'll go a long ways. And then on your outdoor coils, you know, you want to try to go out if you're paying somebody at least twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall. But if you're doing it yourself, every time you change the filter, you know, go out there every quarter, you know, every 3-4 months. Some filters are rated for 6 months, which are those 4-inch filters. So if you've got a thick one that's about 4 inches, you can get away with every 5-6 months. If you've got the 1-inch filters, which are the slim ones, you know, change those every 2-3 months.
I'm guilty of that. You were at my house the other day working on something, and we were cleaning out for them to put new carpet in. And I have like 5 filters, like new filters, because they're on subscribe and save with Amazon. And it's like, why do we have all these? Well, it's because I haven't been changing them like we should. No, I think that's really good advice, and I think it's such an easy thing to forget and not do. But then you'll definitely notice it when you have to pay for a new unit or do maintenance work.
And that can kill the unit. You know, it can knock out your blower if that because the system's all about you know, heat transfer, heat removal. So when those filters get dirty, it restricts the airflow. You know, you can't have that return, and I'll talk on that a little bit later. But when that filter gets restricted, that blower motor can't move air through it. And what's going to happen is those motors aren't designed to wrap up or go against negative pressure. So it's going to run, and it's going to try to overwork itself and pretty much, or eventually it'll heat up and lock out, or it'll seize up and you won't ever be able to get back on. And, you know, I charge, you know, anywhere from $800 to $900 on average just for a standard motor. So just changing the filter that you can go buy for $400. Yeah.
I told you today I don't want to have to see it for a while.
Yeah.
So do you do new construction install as well? Any of that?
Not right now. That is on my list because right now, you know, I'm a smaller company. I wear a lot of hats. You know, I'm still a tech. I do the dispatching. Hell, I do a little bit of the books. I even do a little bit of social media up until about, you know,
CEO
2-3 months.
to everything.
Yeah. And it's just, you know, it's hard enough. Maybe that's not the best word for it, but it's a lot, you know, for one person just doing residential. And new construction comes with a lot as far as, you know, getting permits and all that stuff. And, you know, because you do real estate. So that's a headache for just one person. But if once I build the company up where I want to be, and I can
that's a great little branch to have as part of your business, right? The new construction, get it with the builders and do that piece of it.
It's because it's big money. You know, you lock those contracts in. So, you know, if you do new construction, depending on the size of it, you know, you may have work for 2-3 years. If you've got work for 2-3 years, it's easy to keep employees. So
consistent.
But that's versus, you know, if we're just because this industry, it's seasonal, depending on how you're set up.
Sure.
For smaller companies, it's always going to boom in the spring and summer and go down in the fall and winter.
So are you seeing mostly service calls right now? Is it mostly service?
Yeah. When we do new installs though, but yeah, it's mostly service coming in right now, and I'd say probably out of every 15 service calls that come in, probably about 8 to 12 of those are just repairs, and then the others are
Others
new
you're crawling under a house.
Yeah, new installs, change outs. So like your issue, that would have been what we call repair. I would consider that just repair. Or even though we didn't make the repair, I went under there and told you what you needed for you to get somebody else.
Found it.
Yeah.
So obviously HVAC's been around, the technology's been around a long time. What are the new trends you're seeing with stuff coming out? Both, new installs. Has much changed in terms of the technology of what?
Well, man, I would say, and it's been around for a while, probably 2-3 decades. Don't quote me on it because I don't know the exact number. I don't think people realize though HVAC systems have not been around for that long. I'd say maybe like the last 100 years or so. They haven't compared to how long people have been building homes, living in homes. Air conditioning has not been around for that long. So, and this is really more or less for the heating side of things. But a couple of decades ago, they came out with systems called heat pumps. So before they came out with heat pumps, it was just either a straight cool system, and then gas heat, or a straight cool system and all electric heat. And when I say straight cool, that means that the outdoor unit is only used for cooling the home. Well, the cheapest way to heat a home in the wintertime is gas. It's always going to be gas, even though you lose like 40% of your heat out of the flue pipe. Nobody cares because gas is so cheap. But that's also the most dangerous way to heat a house because you got carbon monoxide, you got gas leaks, all that stuff. So they came out with these heat pump systems, that are more energy efficient. And what they do is they use refrigerant to heat and cool the home versus, so if, a lot of, especially going now because, the code, the environmental guys, whoever it may be, they realize, hey, gas is dangerous. So new construction, newer homes, they're all electrical. So you're better off putting in a heat pump system because that uses less energy to heat the home using the refrigerant than it does running your electric heat all winter long. Does that make sense to you? Okay. But yeah, so that's one of them, man. Also they've got two-stage cooling equipment that's fairly new. And kind of how that works is, when you first make a call for cool, if the say it's 76 in the home and you want your T-stat to come down to 74. Well, on two-stage cooling equipment, it's got 2 compressors in it. And pretty much what the compressors do is they just remove the heat from the home. They pump the refrigerant in to remove the heat. So with a 2-stage cooling system, it'll kick on that second stage of cooling, which uses less energy to cool it down at 2 degrees. But say it's 80 in the home and you want to drop it down to 74. It'll kick on that first stage, which is going to run full blast on your electric bill, versus if you don't have a 2-stage cooling system, the system's going to run 100% every time, all the time.
So that kind of leads into my next question. Obviously right now, with it being 100 degrees outside, energy, and you're talking about the heating side of things, but what are things people can do? Because everybody wants to run their AC all the time, but my electric bill was outrageous this month. Like, is there anything you can do, or any tips you have for people in terms of like efficiency to balance keeping your house cool and not having an electric bill that's $400?
I mean, there is. A lot of people aren't going to want to hear my answer, but at the end of the day, man, once you buy the home and it's got the HVAC system in it, unless you're HVAC technician, there's really not much you can do. But going forward, especially for all, first-time home buyers, or even people just buying a new home, taking out a second mortgage or whatever it may be, make sure from the very beginning that the system is sized right for the home. So these cooling systems are measured in tons, and it's 500 square feet per ton. So if you have a 2,000 square feet home of living space, you need to have a 4-ton system. Because what I see a lot is people, and especially in Abilene, who we were just talking about earlier, people buy the homes, and I don't know if, the contractors that installed them before, they didn't get blueprints or whatever it may be, but I see more than I would like to see is units that were installed, or homes that are too small. They may be 500 to even 1,500 square feet too small. And if
I'm guessing that probably makes the unit work
yeah,
way harder
it's
than it's supposed to.
yeah, it's
right?
going to work a lot harder than it needs to, and it's never going to maintain temperature. Because here's what you got to keep in mind. Because like I said, there's not really much the homeowner can do, but really, if assuming the system's working properly and it's sized right from the home, aside from just changing the filter. Some engineer, somebody who probably, got 6 years of undergraduate education came up with these, but these systems are only designed to cool 20 degrees below ambient temperature. So on an 80-degree, and this is in perfect conditions with the system that's working 100%, your homes, the insulation is good, in the attics and the interior, exterior walls, you got double pane windows, you don't have any air leaks, all that good stuff. They're only designed to cool 20 degrees below ambient temperature. And like I said, who came up with that numbers? I don't know, because I get that question a lot. Well, why'd they do
That's what most of your service calls are right now. I've got it set at 75 and it's not cooling.
Yes.
It's 105 outside.
Yeah, so you just got to keep that in mind, on a 100-degree day, anything below 80 on the thermostats. And, most homes will do it, if they're insulated, good, all that good stuff. But that's what they're designed for. So when it's a 100-degree day and you got your thermostat set at 68, it's never going to reach it, and if it does reach it, it's going to run constantly. That unit's probably going to run 22, 23 hours a day.
Yeah.
So just, keep that in mind. On these hotter days, they're only designed to cool 20 degrees below ambient, and that'll go a long way.
So kind of like on our end, you bought a house, right? Mm-hmm. So, we home inspections, that whole process for first-time home buyers or repeat buyers. I think that's a good piece of advice, because on our end, we always tell people, like, look at the major things: roof, plumbing, HVAC, electrical. So what would be a recommendation you have for either a real estate agent or a first-time home buyer when they're going, after they get the inspection? Because obviously inspectors aren't professionals in all those categories. They're kind of just a general look. Do you think it's beneficial to have a technician like yourself come out and look at the unit and give an opinion before they?
Yes. I was actually going to say that, yes. So when you go buy a home, and I hate to say it, but just from my experience, man, those inspectors, most of them aren't worth a dang. They catch all of the stuff that doesn't matter, usually cosmetics. And then the stuff that actually matters, they don't catch it. Because a lot of times all that inspector's going to do, as far as the HVAC goes, is they're going to temp your supply vent, and they're going to temp your return vent. And if you've got 10 degrees coming out, they're going to tell you it's good. Well, if you're buying a home in fall or even in the winter and they turn on your cooling system, it's going to it may not even be work. Yeah, it's going to work. It's going to have a 10-degree difference. So I recommend, and even when I bought my first home, I knew these things, partly just being in the HVAC industry prior to me buying my home. It was a conflict of interest with me, so I couldn't use myself or anybody from my company, but I subcontracted one of my colleagues to come out and look at the HVAC. With my roofing, I'm on a fishing team. One of my fishing buddies, he's got a roofing company. Mm-hmm. I had them come out and inspect the roof. I didn't get a plumber, I was just blessed. I hadn't had any plumbing issues, but yeah, I definitely, get the inspector, especially if the seller is providing or whatever the case. If you're not paying for it, definitely, get it. But, have your own. It's going to cost you a little bit more money up front, but it can save you thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in the long run. Get your own HVAC guy, your own plumber, your own.
I think that's such good advice, because a lot of times, and this isn't a knock, but a lot of times buyers, they'll pay for the inspection, which is usually anywhere from, depending on the size of the house, $300 to $600. Mm-hmm. They don't want to spend more money. They're like, I don't want to pay to have somebody come out and look at the HVAC unit. Roofing, usually you can get people to come out and give free quotes on that stuff. But it's just funny, like, that small amount of money for a service call to just come and say, hey, you might need to look into this a little more. People don't want to do it.
Yeah. And lately, the last couple of weeks, I've run into this a lot. Just yesterday, Actually, the homeowners, they've been in the home for a month. I was their third opinion. Everybody told them the same thing, and they only been in this home for a month. If they would have got an HVAC contractor, all they probably had was inspector. And like I said, all they're going to take is the temperature that's coming out of the vents.
Well, they don't really know what they're looking at, right? If they were to look at the system, they don't know what they're looking at.
And so with this particular homeowner, their unit was 800 square feet undersized, brand new system. Well, if they had an HVAC guy out, they could have still bought the home, or they could have backed out of the deal, but they could also, even got the buyer to say, hey, well, you guys need to knock off 10, 15 grand, or you guys need to put the right size equipment in. Had they got an HVAC contractor out versus that inspector, the HVAC guy probably would have caught that.
Yeah.
So now they're going to deal with that, either for the however long they stay in that home, or they're going to have to cost up, about 10 grand to put the right size equipment in the home.
So, especially here in North Texas, and you've been doing this for 4 years now, so you've seen, we get these 105-degree days, but then we get, in February, these insane temperature swings where we're down at 0 degrees with ice storms. So what do you tell people? Because obviously, your HVAC units, you work super hard, but do you see a lot of issues here with people on the furnace side of things?
Not really. Now, yes and no. So electric heat, those are problematic. Furnaces, typically those things will go for 30 years, no issues. But
especially here, I would think, because they're not used.
Yeah. Aside from little things like a car, HVAC system is like a car. You got to change the brakes, you got to change the windshield wipers, little things. But yeah, those will go for forever. But what I would say, man, guys, it's not that much. Just put a maintenance agreement on your HVAC, because you're not gonna know what's going on. That's why you need the professional to come out. But with our maintenance contracts, we come out twice a year, every year. Once in the spring, right before the summer, to do preventative maintenance, get you tuned up, let you know what you need going into the summer season. And then once in the fall, right before the winter, to do preventative maintenance and get you going for the cooling. So when we come out in the spring, of course, we're gonna take care of everything that has to do with the cooling side. And then when we come out in the fall, right before the winter, we're going to take care and tune up everything that has to do with the heating. But that's what I would recommend, if you can afford it. And I'm sure most people,
what is something like that
so us, we are a smaller company, but I've even seen bigger companies charge less. We charge $69 per unit. Okay. Now if you've got 20 homes, you're a big real estate guy or something, we're going to give you a discount. Yeah. But that's what we charge just per unit right now. If you've got 2 units on your home, most people have, 1 to 2 units is $69 per unit. $69 each unit in the spring, and then $69 each unit in the fall.
Yeah, super affordable.
Yeah, and that goes a long way, because there's a lot of things we can catch then. So if we come out in the spring, it may be working, but you may have a capacitor, which is almost like a battery. Yeah. That's low. It's going to work fine in the spring, but whenever we get into the middle of summer or the beginning of the summer and we get that first 100-degree day, boom, it's going to go out. And by that time, most companies are already booked, and you're going to be 2-3 weeks out sometimes on a schedule, versus if you had a maintenance contract, you could have caught it early.
How does that work for you guys? Because I know, do you have to prioritize calls if somebody's do you shift your schedule based off how serious the issue is?
So I try to treat everybody the same. It's first come, first serve basis. Unless you're a maintenance, unless we have a maintenance contract, we'll start. We have a maintenance agreement with you, because our maintenance customers, and just even my repeat customers, they're priority with us. So if I've got, 5 calls already scheduled for the day, and they're like, hey, I really need you out here today or tomorrow, I'm not going to cancel on those other 5 guys, but I'll either squeeze you in somewhere throughout the day, or put you at the very end, or in the very morning, and that's, things I offer to my maintenance guys. I try to prioritize them over just, a first-time customer. But yeah, I
would be interested to see the call volume, right, throughout your year, where, in the wintertime, it's probably a little slower. And then a month like this, you're getting all kinds of calls because you have a ton of reviews on Google, and people start looking as soon as something goes wrong, they're looking for somebody. So how many people are you seeing, new customers versus repeat customers? Is it in your business?
Man, and because hell, I got a CPA for that. I'm not a numbers guy, so I don't really, and I probably should pay attention to the numbers a lot more than I should. But man, this time of year, shit, man, I have just on my way over here, I had 3 service calls come in. So, we see quite a bit this time of year, new customers, but I believe that, for longevity of a business, you need those repeat customers.
Oh,
That's what keeps the business around, for decades to come. But
one reason I want to talk to you too, outside of this, like I went to school for entrepreneurship. My family's, I love just talking to small business owners, right? Like the journey you're on, I'm in it with you too. So like figuring out how to balance the difference of taking care of your existing clients, bringing in new clients, running the business at the same time. So I think you're definitely on the right track. You got to have both.
yeah.
And then also, if you want to scale your business up, you've got to have those repeat clients and then bringing new people in that they can bring new business and grow too.
And I agree, man. I totally agree. And I always tell people, and eventually I'll get to where I want to be. But if this industry, because until you cross over, a certain threshold, you grow your company to a certain point. I don't care who it is. Smaller businesses, the HVAC industry, it's seasonal. It's and that's pretty much everywhere. Unless you're up north, it's the opposite. It's going to be busier in the fall.
Yeah.
But if this industry was if it boomed year round, man, I would have scaled my business up, so much bigger than what it is right now.
yeah.
But the thing is, it's the turnover rate. It's keeping your employees, because these guys are, and that's something I've got to figure out in any business.
I think that's any business right now is just, it's hard to find really good employees. And I think you're in a similar position as us with trust, right? Like we're going into people's houses. You got to make sure whoever you're bringing in and representing your company is trustworthy and represents you the way that, because I feel like that's something that's really important to you, is how you represent yourself and your brand. Like that's what I took from our encounter when we met. Like you really care about your brand and the perception and how you treat your customers.
And it is, man. And I say that, because I'm here for the long run. I didn't get into this to just, get rich overnight or make a
fly
little
by night.
Yeah. Because you'd be surprised how many companies there are out there where they start one LLC, try to get as much money from each individual guy as they can, and then 4 or 5 months they're under a new business name. That's not good. I want Only Way Air to be Only Way Air still in 50 years from now, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, don't get me wrong. I did start a business to make money. I got a wife, I got a daughter, I got to feed them. But at the end of the day, I do care about the customers. I have a dad, I have a mom, I have a grandpa, I have grandma. If somebody was out at their home doing their plumbing, I don't want them to just rip them off, give them a quick fix. I want them to take care of it. So when I'm out at somebody's home, every customer, I think about that, and I want my guys to treat the customers with that same quality of service and respect. And
I think when you have that mindset, like on our side, one, it just gives you pride in your work too, because you made an impact on somebody, right? Sometimes what we do on my side with real estate is not that important, and sometimes like you going out to a service call, it's not important, but you have those moments where you can really impact your clients. Like you said, if you have some grandmother that's sitting in a 100 degree house, and you go and help her out.
Yeah.
Those are the days that probably feel pretty good.
Yeah, they do, man. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I get a lot of those.
I'm sure right now it's plenty odd. So what would you say the biggest misconception about HVAC systems that you often come across, and how would you debunk that?
And so you guys can, Google this, whatever the case may be. But most homeowners think that HVAC system cools the home. It does not cool the home. There is no such thing as cool. It's just the absence of heat. So when they go to the thermostat and they dial it down to 68 or 60, they think that there's going to be 60-degree air, 58-degree air coming out of the vents. That's not the case. Again, like I said, when these systems are running in cool mode, all they do is remove heat and humidity from the home. So if you go set the thermostat, for 72 or 70, what's happening is that outdoor unit is pumping in refrigerant. Say it's 80 degrees in the home. The outdoor unit in the compressor is going to pump in refrigerant that's a lesser temperature than what the home is, say 60-degree refrigerant, and it's going to pull 20 degrees of heat out of the air. And it's just going to keep repeating that process. And there's a lot more to it, but I want to go above your heads. But it's just going to keep repeating that process, and until it pulls enough heat out of the air till it reaches the desired temp you guys want on the thermostat. So like I said, most systems are only designed to cool 20 degrees below ambient temperature. So if you go set that thermostat to 58, 50, which I've seen, it's likely never going to reset.
That's an aggressive temp.
You've just got to be patient. Just if set the thermostat to 74. If it's 80, you set it to 74. It's going to remove the heat until it gets down. But don't think that just because you drop it low, it's going to blow that degree temperature.
Degrees.
Yeah, it's not, man. And I see that a lot. That's the biggest, misconception I see out there.
When someone's looking for an HVAC company to work with, whether they have a service call or new install, what do you, in your mind and your business, what makes a good company, HVAC company, and what should people be looking at in the red flags when they're talking to somebody to set their house? Because there's good and bad in everything, right?
There is.
So what would you describe as a good HVAC company?
So one, reviews. I've heard from a lot of people, oh, well, reviews are paid for. Guys, I've been in business for 4 years. I have never paid anybody for a single review. So just, start there, read the reviews, get on Google, get on Better Business Bureau, get on Yelp, and actually read the reviews, because some companies may have bad reviews, but it may not have anything to do with, the way they performed, so that's one. When you're looking for a company, get on there, do your research, check reviews. Two, word of mouth. Before you get on Google, reach out to your brother, your sister, your friend, ask them if they've got a good HVAC guy. Those two things are key. Those are the main things I would say. Check with the friend or family member first and see if they've got somebody they recommend. And then two, just get on Google HVAC companies near me and just check the reviews. There are paid advertisement and PPC clicks where they put these companies at the top just because they paid for it. But at the end of the day, read the reviews. If these guys are out there doing bad work, it's going to show in their reviews, because most homeowners, you could go out and give phenomenal service. And most people are just not going to leave reviews, especially, your elderly guys. They don't know so just
most people tend to leave a review when they've had a negative experience.
Yes, and that's why I say go read, because if they're gonna leave a bad review for sure. They're gonna go out of their way
with you unless you ask for it. That's the same in our business. You have that's important to us too. So you have to ask for the reviews, but usually if someone's not happy, they'll go happily solicit their review on your page.
Yep.
So what are the top mistakes people are making when they're choosing or using their HVAC system?
Again, they're keeping the temperature too low. So again, I go out to jobs all the time, especially in the middle of the summer, where they have the thermostat set to 68, 60, even 50 sometimes. The units are only designed to cool 20 degrees below ambient temperature in perfect conditions. So remember that, on a 100-degree day, 105-degree day, if you've got it set at 70, it's either going to struggle to maintain temperature, or in some situations, it may never reach the temperature.
Awesome. So one of the questions I ask everybody that comes on here is, you live here in Fort Worth. What do you love about the city of Fort Worth?
Man, I would say just the opportunity. There's just all the places, because I went to school, grew up in Fort Worth, but I went to school in Joshua, Texas. Yeah. So that's out in the country. There's not anything out there, man. It's grown a little bit. There's still nothing out there. As soon as I was old enough to go on my own, I got out of there. But just the opportunity, man. There's so much as far as, job opportunity, things to do, restaurants, bars, recreational activities. There's just a lot to do here. And I've been all over, man. I've been, a few places out of the country, and then I've been, I think, like 25, 26 states, so I've been a lot of places just in the U, and I wouldn't change, moving out of Texas and out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
I love it. You mentioned you have a wife and a baby. It's a really safe place too. Mm-hmm. I really like it here. Well, Ladarius, thank you so much for coming in. If someone wanted to get a hold of you to either need your service or wants to learn more about has a question, how can they reach you?
Guys, we're on Google. Look for us on Google first and foremost. We're on Google. We're on Better Business Bureau. We're on Facebook, and we're even on Instagram. And then again, our number is 682-777-8272. That's the company's number, and that cell number, if you press option 5 when you call it, it'll take you directly to me. And then our office number is 817-909-2408. So you can use either of those numbers to reach us the quickest, or go on Google, go on Facebook, go on Instagram, or you can reach us at onlywayair.com.
Awesome. A lot of ways to get a hold of you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you again. This was another episode of Real Talk with Reside Real Estate. If we can be a resource to you in any way, please reach out. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me, man.